What's up, precious morsels? I wanted to bring this subject back up because I've had a few questions come up in my comments about it. What am I using to make my bushes? Voila, bounty napkins. What you're going to do is bust out one of these bad boys, the quicker picker upper. What you're going to do is take it, fold it over like that, like that. Now you got it fold over, you want the folded side here. You're just going to give it like a horseshoe shaped kind of tear. But I mean, you could really kind of work with it however you want to shape it. But you get that. You want to make sure these are dried out too. You don't want to leave them sitting anywhere where they're going to get really soak up humidity, because when they get kind of soggy, you'll notice a difference in like the fluffiness and stuff to it. Get that little bit off of there. Oops. So there you are. That's your paintbrush for the bushes. Now your next step, I recommend bushes. You always want to do two tones. I'm going to start with put down a little black here just for a different background color. But I always recommend you use at least a highlight and then a secondary color. I typically just run with white for a highlight. This is just some Krylon. I typically work with Krylon, but if I had to recommend something, I would highly recommend Montana Golds. Why? Because I mean, they're acrylic, professional level, like mural artist paint. The pigmenting and everything is just fantastic in it, so you get much better color saturation. So get some layers down. Now what you're going to try to do is split the difference on this on your little brush here. So you want like the white, your highlight at one side, and try to get more of the color down to the bottom. Now it's alright if it overlaps a bit. So I build it up, but I'm really tilted at an angle here. So you see it's mostly feeding on the bottom side. You kind of roll your way up and then really get the white toward the tips like that. And now you come in and there you go. Now what you're seeing in here, those, you can kind of see how this pattern repeats. Now I highly recommend you avoid repeating patterns like that. And that usually comes from like how it's torn. There might be a little piece up here. So you kind of come in and pluck it away and like get the edge all there. See how much better that looks? You don't want too much of a repeating pattern, otherwise it stands out as an obvious, repeated pattern in nature. Like you wouldn't see too much of that. It makes it look less organic. And then now when you lay in your bushes, start from the top and work your way down so your highlight is going over that next layer. You can come in, tone something up, add a little color in there, and then come back. There, now you create like this depth, this transition between that background. Now this is obviously in the foreground. Something else to look at is you can shrink the size of the bushes depending on how much of the brush you're using. You really pinch it down, and you can come in here and you're just hitting the tips of it. It's mostly just my fingertip here is really pushing down on it. It's all pinched together. And you get this much smaller bush profile, less paint, and you just kind of layer on it. Now you're creating like a ground cover instead of a big layer of bushes. So you come into an area and just fill it in with like this little ground cover, throw in some little wisps of grass poking up here and there. So there you have it, bushes or a much smaller ground cover to go over an area. All done with just a bounty napkin. Stick around for more tips, tricks, and spray painting techniques. If you got any questions, drop them in the comments. I always try to get back to people and answer questions as best I can. With that, see you next time, guys.